Yo guys, what's going on? It's Max, and today's video, once again, ideally a little bit shorter, but I wanted to kind of give my 2 cents on what seems to be a lot of different content creators talking about the Dead by Daylight space as of recent, and kind of just what's been going on. I think the announcements that people have been making and talking about have been pretty clear. I'll leave a couple videos down in the description below for what people have been talking about. Otzdarva kind of made a little recap of the negatives and positives from the community, which I think is really good. And SpooknJukes also recently made a video, I think it's like Dead by Daylight's Dying, a little rant that kind of just talks about his frustrations with the game. And I've watched those two, a few other people making videos in recent times, some reactions and personal opinions to those. And I wanted to just, give my 2 cents. Also, ideally some constructive criticism behind it. Now, in reference, SpooknJukes, if you have watched the video, awesome, you have context. If not, I'll do a quick recap, but he vocalizes it more clearly and has stronger opinions than I'd say I do, because I haven't played the game as much, so I'd imagine if these problems have been plaguing the game for years, it's much more frustrating than someone like me who's kind of recently into the scene. First was hacking slash cheating is being a pretty big ongoing problem. The cheating problem seems to be getting a lot better. I don't notice a lot of people, with speed boost, or you have billies flying around the map. Space Billy was fun, but when I'm talking about Leatherface that's actually flying across the map and insta-downing everybody at once, survivors that are blowing up your generators or messing up hook stages, like force downing themselves, body blocking, whatever. The cheating situation seems to be getting a lot better in recent times, which is really good. The hacking situation, which is more notably the DDoSing situation that's ongoing, that still hasn't really been resolved. And especially for them who, like Otzdarva, SpooknJukes, like bigger content creators who are experiencing these issues, it's very problematic. I guess I could say I'm very fortunate that I don't end up getting targeted by anything like that, but who knows? Maybe, unfortunately, it could turn into like a matter of time thing, but that's something that behavior they have acknowledged, and we can find a solution towards, which is really good. That's just, in time they'll fix it, quote unquote fix it. Second thing from SpooknJukes was that the released content recently from Dead by Daylight feels not to standard or underwhelming for a lot of the player base. And for me, I guess it was a little bit different because I don't particularly have any preconceived notions about what should be going on in the game or not. I think the biggest notable one was like the Skull Merchant in that teaser, and a lot of people were expecting this kind of like, Terminator-esque android super being that was going to be a killing machine, and we got the Skull Merchant. I think Scott Jund was also kind of in my boat, where like I had zero preconceived notion of what to expect. I watched the trailer. I think he didn't, but I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, seems pretty interesting. We got this unique character incorporating technology into the game, should be interesting. And a lot of people felt let down by that. The Knight, I think was an awesome design. The Mori's really cool, but the playstyle for both of them feels a little lackluster. There's no real strong anti-looping or anything, and well, it is kind of anti-looping. It's just, you hold W away from the loop. And it results in somewhat boring playstyles. And it's not to say it's like a good or bad thing. It's just, I think Scott phrased it kind of like there's only one real correct play against the Knight and the Skull Merchant, because playing where they use their power most often gives them extra strength, so it's just better to leave, and holding W isn't fun in the game. And I agree with that sentiment. I think, at least for me, every time I go against the Knight, most oftentimes those games get a little bit grindy and very control-y, and the best thing to do is, like, if the guard triggers, you just hold W as fast as you can away, or get a good vaulting spot to go to. And so I genuinely was like, I guess that the content has felt a little underwhelming. I know a lot of people loved Wesker. I am a big Resident Evil fan, and seeing that was awesome. And I think just like killer design wise, I think a lot of people loved Wesker. He has, you know, the same type of strengths that make him a not irrelevant killer, but he's also particularly just fun to play as and against. There's good counterplay, and all the weaknesses of what's unfun of holding W gets punished. Counterplay within the loop is manageable. Built-in slowdown with his, you know, sprays, and so all in all, it felt pretty good. And I guess when you compare the release of Wesker to someone like the, you know, the Knight or the Skull Merchant, it doesn't feel good. Especially with the Mori from the Skull Merchant and the art and design. I understand the sentiments that a lot of people have where it felt rushed, and admittedly I felt that too on the PTB. Granted, PTB stuff, you know, it can change, but that was a little bit unfortunate. The third thing was the community. SpooknJukes had a very, I would say, pretty strong opinion and comment regarding the community of Dead by Daylight, and in short, it essentially was that a lot of people feel entitled to having fun from other people in a video game, and he just disagrees with that sentiment. It's not my job for you guys to have fun in a game, which, I mean, that's fair. It's not, you know, video games are meant to be entertaining for the person playing them. I don't need to make the game fun for other people, but, you know, some people do it. It's nice. You know, if I give someone else Hatch, like, it doesn't bother me. I'm sure, you know, they probably feel a little better than getting rolled out of a game. So, I don't know. I understand there was a very strong opinion. I wanted to get a little bit more time to figure out my thoughts behind it. And rather than, you know, calling out the quote unquote, like, man children that are yelling in post-game chat, I thought a possible solution to this, because I felt like he said, you know, the other two things were pretty solvable in terms of getting the hacking situation sorted. That's pretty solvable. The dev team can work to address DDoSing and, you know, IP address stuff that's been a problem. The content that's coming out, I think, kind of similarly, behavior could maybe, you know, skip one patch for the sake of being, instead of brand new content like Killer Survivor, you just have a big health patch, and now you spend some time improving some of the bigger issues in the game that I think could help the game. Or, you know, with, like I said, the anniversary, I think, is coming out in a few months, like 3 months, and most times I think people are saying that those are the patches that people really like. They usually take a good chunk of time for good licensed content, put in some good work with it, and overall people like it. But the devs can't fix the community, right? That's kind of the thing. It's like, if the community decides to be quote unquote man children, you can't, like, it's not BHVR's fault. But I thought that the biggest thing that I've realized is the reporting system in Dead by Daylight feels very insignificant. I personally, I've only, like, reported a couple people in recent times for like 100% very obvious rage quitting, or like blowing up my generator in front of me, like intentionally trying to sabotage games. And I realize those people probably don't have anything happen to them, to be fair. And it was kind of made my attention from one of SpooknJukes' video, because I wanted to see what kind of content he made, where someone was just using the reporting system because they didn't like, you know, the outcome of a match. So now they're falsely reporting people, which floods the system with incorrect reports that obviously make the system flawed. It just isn't a good feeling to have report systems not work because there is a bad actor that is kind of ruining that situation. And so I thought an interesting approach to BHVR possibly doing something in regards to the community to help, like, quote unquote solve it, is if there was a karma system built into the reporting portion of the game. Now, obviously, somewhat kind of aligned with like, things like Reddit karma, but in particular, if you've played Dark and Darker, you would kind of understand it a little bit better. But essentially, the base premise is after a certain number of played games or hours, whatever have you, there's a qualifier minimum that you are then allowed to commend/report players. If you get more positive commends, that's just good. It's just good. The player is a healthy player of the game. Probably like old Overwatch, go ahead, reward them. Overwatch gave loot boxes in this game. Fuck it, just give more blood points, maybe Eerie shards, something to really show that you are a positive member of the community. But you also were limited in the number of reports you could give out. And that wasn't always a concrete given thing, where if you had a negative quote unquote karma because you received too many reports, you're not allowed to report people back. You are being not falsely reported, but if you are reported, you are more than likely a negative actor in the community and should not be in a position to then report or, basically give your opinion on the significance of others in that game. I liked that idea. Granted, there are definite flaws with that system, so some protections in place. Obviously, you can't give benefits or reports to people on your team, or like, who you queued up with, because otherwise you could just boost each other's karma up, and then you can now spam report somebody who doesn't deserve it. But I think that the report system feels like it hasn't done a lot. And I know even from the forums, people talk about it. When you see a cheater, you need to not only report them in game, but also submit a ticket to support and like provide evidence or something. And I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird that even the built-in report system for someone like cheating is not treated as enough. And I don't know. To me, that was just a little bit weird. But I think that some type of system like that, a good purge and reset of a way to really make the end game reports / commends have meaning. Because I think that there are some real people that make the game a good experience. Like you could see here, me and my friend, like we both type GG well played, and I always like, those are my go-to messages. GG well played, all good luck next everyone. I don't like trying to make negative issues in the game worse. I usually am trying my best to make the space as positive as I can, and I think that would be an interesting, good solution. I know there's going to be flaws, and I'm sure that I'm probably missing a couple things, and we can work out those issues later, but just some system, something, so that the report system has merit, and the people who shouldn't be abusing it can no longer abuse it. I think that's something that BHVR could do. I doubt it, because I mean it's such a small, I'm not gonna say a small issue, but it's not an issue that would make more money compared to brand new content, so I get it. But just my 2 cents on it. That's really about it. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll continue to play Dead by Daylight until Meet Your Maker's release. I honestly might switch to Meet Your Maker because I've had a lot of fun playing that game, and I think that trying to enter that space would be very interesting. Of course, I will continuously probably keep playing Dead by Daylight, maybe making videos on it. Who knows? Maybe I'll allocate Monday to Meet Your Maker, right? Meet Your Maker Monday. Whew. That was a stupid idea. Don't call me on that. But I want to play both of them. I'll let you guys know what I'm going to be doing. But yeah, let me know what you think. Is that whole like reporting / karma system kind of from like, Dark and Darker a good idea, bad idea? And yeah, this is my opinions. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, everybody, and take it easy. Peace.